Hello everyone, my name is Peter Lomuscio, and for this project I created a supplemental theater curriculum for intermediate English language high school learners. This project will be in two parts. Introduction and rationale. English language learners struggle with academic language. Theater can facilitate language acquisition by providing students with real-life experience, providing authentic practice with the language, and allowing students to express themselves. When students are themselves, they can better realize their relationship to everything and everyone else. This type of relationship not only promotes critical thinking, but also facilitates literacy, and literacy will provide easier access to academic language. Theater in general opens the door or the curtains to academic achievement. Statement of the problem. English language learners at Annapolis High School lack the ability to present their project-based learning presentation in cohesive thoughts. Because students struggled with the language, they lack the confidence to present their project to the class or any other group. Usually when presenting the project, the students will fidget or are unable to come up with cohesive thoughts. They tend to hide behind the project, they look at the floor, and they don't relate directly to everyone else. Adding a theater component to the curriculum, it will help students with impromptu speech, and it would also give the students confidence because they will be performing in front of the class, and this will foster confidence for when they're performing other projects, either in high school, college, or beyond. So, and as as their students grow in proficiency, they will gain more confidence, and proficiency and confidence are essential to academic and post-academic success. Teacher profile. For this, the teacher profile is only aimed at one teacher who teaches ESOL 3 at Annapolis High School. Teacher-student ratio, 1 to 15. Number of teachers, 1. Teacher course load, 2 English for speakers of other languages and a transitional math class. Teacher certification, professional certification, MA in teaching English to speakers of other languages. Curriculum, all classes follow the Anne Arundel County curriculum in Maryland. Class content, all classes are 90 minutes. Project-based learning. There are two project-based learning components in both of the ESOL classes. One is literature, an age-appropriate book, where students will eventually have to present a short plot about the book or what they thought was the book and how effective the book was for them and how they feel in general about the book. And the second major component is the research, design, building, and presenting of a new sports stadium. Both of these components have a large percentage of assessment grade. 40% is based on their final presentation. And this curriculum does not require any teacher training. Student profiles in both of the ESOL classes. Number of students, 30 plus or minus. Ages, 14 to 18. Grades, 9 to 12. The L1 proficiency, low proficiency to native fluency. And the L2 proficiency, low to high intermediate. Extracurricular activity, none. Unfortunately, because I assume because they don't speak the language well enough, they don't participate in any after-school club. There is a drama club, but this club is far too advanced for these intermediate high school students. And in addition to the ESOL 3 classes, students take transitional math or algebra, civics, social study, language arts 1 and 4 depending on grade level, science, biology, and chemistry, health, depending on grade level, and physical education, depending on grade level. With the exception of health and physical education, all classes are taught by ESOL teachers. Teacher needs assessment. Teacher needs to implement an improvisational or behavior activity that allows for exploration of behavior given a certain circumstance. Basically, some of these students don't know how to act outside of the ESOL class. They have trouble even in their at lunch communicating or behaving with other students. And the teacher needs to implement an impromptu speech activity in every class. Help the students use the language that they know. Needs to allow students to memorize and perform writing material for the class. And what this does is, when you read from a book, you're just reading and you're not attached. But once you start memorizing stuff, such as a monologue or a theater piece, you start to internalize it. And the minute you start internalizing it or memorizing it, you become more attached to it. There you Therefore, you become more involved in it. And the teacher needs to implement a supplemental theater component that helps students use authentic language in a safe environment. Right now, they just read language from the book, and that language sometimes is not authentic. And finally, the teacher needs to allow students to react authentically to an outside situation. How would you react? When something happens to you, there's an act and a reaction. So there's an action and reactions, and most students have trouble reacting to a certain situation, A, because they don't have the language, and B, because they lack the confidence. Student needs assessment. Students need to exhibit rational behavior. Students need to act accordingly in a certain circumstance. Students need to use language to express their needs and wants. Again, the language they know is language from a textbook, and they have a hard time saying what they feel because they don't have the words to put to that feeling or to name that feeling. And students need to become engaged with others. They don't, even when presenting the project, they don't relate to anyone. They look at the floor. They have trouble relating to anyone in the class, the teacher. They also have trouble relating to administrators or counselors or anyone in the school system. And the curriculum goal. The curriculum goal is to provide learners with situations that promote critical thinking, behavior knowledge, and language use. Students learn better when they are engaged, but they will learn best if they are involved. Theater will promote a sense of involvement by encouraging these students to use what they already know, what they already have experienced, and apply it to a new concept. The goal of this curriculum is to get students involved in the language to succeed in academia and in life, and finally to get students active and involved in their own learning. In the words of Benjamin Franklin, tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. Unit goals and objectives. There are 5 units and 25 lessons in this supplemental curriculum. The students progress from nonverbal behavior, which is this is a natural progression for anyone that studied theater or acting for that matter. So we start with nonverbal behavior, where they get to learn how to communicate without words. And this also shows how to behave in a certain circumstance. Then we move to an improvisation. So they take the behavior that they already learned in the previous unit, and now we add words to it. They create a scenario, they create a character, and they start behaving with one another and speaking with one another without a script, just saying what they feel like saying or whatever is appropriate to a given situation. The next thing, we look at monologues, already previously written monologue, which the students will analyze. From there, they will perform these monologues for the classes. So now they have a script where they can recite from or memorize the script and perform from that script. After they do the performance of the monologue, then we start looking at character traits. What is this character about? Who is this character? Who is he talking to? Why is he talking? Why is it important? What are the character needs and wants? And from there, we move. Once they create a character from the monologue, then they start creating their own characters. And once they start creating their own characters, then they need to write a monologue for that character that they created. And finally, the performance. This is the last unit where the students will be able to perform the monologue. They have written an original monologue for the character they have created, and they will perform that for the class. This concludes part 1. Part 2 coming up in a moment. Thank you.